Welcome to episode 21 of today's Candor. I'm your host, Barika. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to tune in. I am releasing this episode much later on Tuesday than I normally would. Of course, you know that I usually release my episodes early morning on Tuesdays. I had some personal things that I needed to take care of, and that came first, but I still wanted to have an episode released today. So let's go ahead and get right into it. If you watched my most recent reel on Instagram, I was talking about peer pressure. I gave a quick example. As we know, there are several examples of peer pressure. And sometimes we get caught up in thinking that peer pressure only exists in grade school children or college, things of that nature, like as if it's just a younger trend. But peer pressure can go on and on and on. And peers, sometimes people think, oh, well, peers is just maybe an age thing. And yes, it does have a lot to do with age, but it is also, like a social status. It's who you're hanging around just with those type of similarities. So maybe if you all do similar work, if a social status, a money thing, but age, of course, definitely it can play a big role in it. And there are several examples. And the example that I provided on my latest Instagram reel was in regards to people thinking that they should, I guess, judge or, just be judgmental about women who are still on birth control at a certain age. And so that's the example that I gave on my reel. And so long story short, for those of you all who do not follow me on Instagram, I gave this example of women being judged because if they are over a certain age and they haven't had children or they continue to be on birth control. And for those of you who don't know, all women are not on birth control because they are trying to prevent pregnancy. Women take birth control for different reasons outside of that particular one, and that is their business. But this whole thing of you're too old, quote unquote, you're too old to be on birth control. Well, what is that supposed to mean, right? Because in my reel, I said, you're too old to be making stupid decisions. And not making sure that you're watching out who you are procreating with, because that is a life changer, and not just until the child is 18 all the time, So one, to say that to someone, it's in my mind, I'm just like, definitely you should mind your business because it's not your body. But also, you're never too old to make a decision where you're saying, I'm going to protect myself. So if that is, hey, I'm taking birth control because I'm not ready to start a family. Okay. You're never too old for that. I'd rather people be doing that than saying, I'm just going to have a child by whoever. And sometimes women at a certain age, we get into this. If I'm at a certain age and I want children, am I just going to have children by whoever or a child by whoever? Absolutely not. Because that comes with consequences and circumstances that you are not ready for. That's also a life changer. So if you're at an age where you're like, well, I want a child, I want to become a mother, don't just say it can be by whoever. No, that child cannot be by whoever, because you have a headache and some. So that was just one example that I gave on my Instagram. But just really being able to understand that peer pressure comes in so many different forms, whether it's somebody trying to pressure you into drinking, somebody trying to pressure you into smoking, pressuring you into just anything that you don't want to do. But the thing is, yes, while that person shouldn't do that, you have to be able to have not only the discernment to say, I'm not comfortable, or that's something that I'm not into, or I'm just not doing that, because you don't have to give an explanation about why you don't want to. No, or hey, I'm good. That's enough of an explanation. You don't have to explain why you don't want to do something or get into something that throws off your gut. If your intuition is telling you, that's not going to work for me, you better stand by your intuition, because if you go against it, it's going to come back to haunt you every time. So you have to be able to be your own leader and walk to the own beat of your drum instead of saying, well, let me try to be the cool kid and fit in. Because every time you try to be the cool kid and fit in, something's going to come up. Something's going to come up. It's going to come up and you're not going to like the consequences. And so I was just having a conversation a couple of weeks ago with my godson. He just turned 17. And we had to have a conversation. We had to have a conversation around being able to say, no, I'm okay. Be a leader and not a follower. When you're a follower, it's going to get you hemmed up every single time. It's going to get you hemmed up every single time. And that peer pressure is a bitch. You can think it's not. Go ahead and play the game. I'm not speaking from experience. I'm speaking from watching friends and acquaintances' experiences. If it's one thing I never wanted to do, I never wanted to be a follower. My parents made it very clear with my brother and I. Don't be a follower. It didn't matter what age we were. At our youngest age, my parents said, do not be a follower because it's going to get you caught up in things that sometimes you might not be able to get yourself out of. And you just don't want to be in predicaments. For what? Yes, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to make some bad choices. But making a mistake and being able to just say, you know what, that was something crazy I did. Let me learn my lesson from that. Being able to do that and doing something that might be a life changer and you can't take it back because you wanted to be a follower. No, it's as simple as saying, I'm not doing that. You have to be able to be comfortable in yourself, secure in yourself, and say, something is not sitting well with me. Excuse me, it's not sitting right with my gut. My intuition is telling me, nope, don't do that. And when you go against it, it's going to come back and tap you on your shoulder like, hey, your intuition is going to tap you like, hey, yeah, I was trying to give you a wink and say, that's not going to look good for you. You have to have that discernment. And fitting in for what? It does nothing for you. Because even if you think that you're trying to be the quote unquote cool kid, it's going to last for a hot second. And those consequences are going to last maybe a lifetime. And it may be something that you can't change and get out of. And who wants to live like that? I don't. It's not about being perfect. It's about using your mind. It's about taking a step back right quick and saying, that's not going to do good for me. That's not going to produce anything good for me. And I give the example of myself. And this is not about judging anybody, but I don't drink or smoke. It's not my thing. And I put the emphasis on my thing because I keep telling people when I say I don't drink or smoke, that's a personal choice. It's a personal preference. I have my reasons. And I also tell people it's not because anything crazy happened, because people always want to think when you make these decisions for yourself, it's like, oh, well, did something crazy happen to you? No, ma'am, no, sir. But I knew early on that was just not my thing. And even when the first time I tasted alcohol, I said, this is nasty. My palate is saying no. I'm good on it. So just because everybody else is doing it, or 9 out of 10 people, that's their business. That's their choice. Just like it's my business to say, no, I don't want to do that. So I don't drink or smoke. And nobody has ever been able to make me feel crazy for not doing it. I don't care. Nobody's ever been able to say, well, Barika, why don't you do it? Like a couple of my cousins just asked me, my mom's side of the family my mom set up a family reunion on her side of the family. And a couple of my cousins who hadn't seen me for a while, right around my age, they're like, oh, well, how do you have fun if you don't drink or smoke? Like, what are we even talking about? Like, how is that even a conversation at this big age of how do you not have fun because you don't engage in those activities? Who said that equals fun? Like, there's this automatic equation of drinking plus smoking equals fun. Not drinking and not smoking equals you'll be bored or you don't know how to have fun. No, I like being sober. I like knowing what's going on around me at all times. I'm good with that. And like I said, it's not judging anybody, because nearly everyone I know, they do one or the other or both. But nobody does it excessively. because anybody who knows me well enough, I don't do that. If you have those excessive addicting habits, especially with that type of stuff, I'm good on you, because you're going to bring some shenanigans around me. So it's not about a judging thing. It's a choice. And I've never felt crazy about it. I've never been like, oh, well, maybe I should do it because people keep asking me why I don't do it. And that's how people get caught up. They say people keep trying to, make me feel weird, or like I'm odd, or I'm different, or I'm making a crazy decision because I don't want to do something in particular. It doesn't even have to be drinking or smoking. It can be anything that somebody is trying to talk you into, force you into, make you feel weird or uncomfortable for not doing. And that's why I said peer pressure is not a grade school or just a college thing. It's a pattern that you can see anywhere. It's a pattern you can see in the workplace, where people try to make you feel off or uncomfortable for not engaging in certain activities. Don't. Be your own leader. And I know some people want to say, well, it's not that easy. It is, actually. It's easy to say, no, I don't. That doesn't make me comfortable. Because if something in a split second can cross your mind and you can evaluate it that fast and say that throws me off, you better not go against it. Because for your mind to work that quickly and be able to say, hey, that's a no and a hard no, and you say, I'm still going to just try it out and go along with it, you'll be going along with some other things too. And if you don't get with the program is most certainly going to get with you. It just is. Whether that's getting hemmed up with the wrong people and you're going down the wrong path because you're being a follower. You're not thinking on your own and saying, I know I shouldn't. And I know I shouldn't do something can be for multiple reasons. Of course, most of the time, maybe like kids and teenagers will say, I know I shouldn't do this because I'll get in trouble with mom and dad. I know I shouldn't do this because I'll get in trouble in school. But then the older you're getting, it's not even just about getting in trouble with people necessarily. You need to also think about your own consequences. Be responsible and say it's not about necessarily getting in trouble with a parent, a teacher, or this or that. If something's not sitting right with you, those consequences, you'll have to bear those consequences, and it may be long term. May not be just a short term thing, and it may be a lifetime. And when my parents were teaching me about, you have to be a leader, say no, speak up when you're uncomfortable. And it's not about, being boisterous about it and going off, but simply saying, no, I don't want to do that. And I bet you it has saved me from some stuff so many times that like I said, I would see friends and acquaintances getting played, getting caught up in stuff because it's, I have to experiment. Okay. You sure do. And life's going to experiment on your hind parts too. Hope you're ready. Certain things I knew I was never getting caught up in. One, just how I was raised. I was like, I'm not going through all of that. I'm a person who doesn't like to be reprimanded. I don't like wild, crazy consequences. I'm a very peaceful, I like a flow. I'm a peaceful person. All that having to check me and tell me what shouldn't have been done and all that, I'm going to be sitting there crying. I don't like it. Plus, there are much crazier consequences than just your parents sitting you down saying, hey, you shouldn't have done that. You know better. Stuff like, obviously, getting in trouble with the law. Running around, procreating with any and everybody. And then you wonder why you got all this drama and craziness in your world. Tension and friction and stress. Well, use your noggin. Stop thinking, I'm a certain age, I should be doing this. Somebody's trying to talk me into this and no. Use your brain. Especially if it's something that you have even more time to think about than just a split second where you do have to make a decision. If it's something where you have more time to make a choice, make a cognizant choice, a positive choice, You all know what I'm about to say already. Write it down. Write it down. If you say yes or no to the decision, what are the pros and cons of each? If I say yes to it, what is this? What's going to happen if I say yes? And if I say no, better write it down. Don't keep it all up in that mind and have a brain fog about it and be trying to figure out what's going on. Look at it right in front of you on some paper or type it up however you want it. And I know we don't all have the same upbringing. So I get we didn't have a parent or guardian telling us early on, hey, walk to the own beat of your drum. Don't be a follower. Be a leader. Be able to say no. I already know everybody didn't have that same upbringing. I'm very aware. But at some point, you cannot keep blaming your parent or guardian and say, oh, well, they raised me to do this. This is what I was taught. This is all I know. At some age, you got to be able to kick that and say, I know what I should be doing because I've seen how the foolishness goes, or you might have experienced how the foolishness goes. So guess what? Make better choices. And I've had to tell people this. You can't blame everything on mommy and dad. You can't keep saying, oh, well, they weren't doing this and they weren't here. You can play that game for a little bit. But once you're a certain age, you need to be able to shake that feeling and say, you know what? I need to be pointing the finger at me and saying the reason these things are happening in my world is because of my choices. This ain't got nothing to do with a parent, a guardian, grandparent who might have raised you. Be able to work on yourself and say, I'm not blaming anybody anymore for my actions, my consequences. I'm blaming me. I'm looking in the mirror and saying, I'm the issue for what's going on. So if you keep saying yes to stupid stuff, you're going to keep getting silly consequences. And it's crazy to me. It's wild to me when you try to tell people this stuff. They're looking at you like, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. Okay, well, you tell me the way it works. Because you sitting over there in a drama-filled life, and I'm not, baby cakes. And the reason I'm not is because I'll tell you no in a heartbeat. I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling that. You got an issue with it? We can either sit down and talk about it. We can communicate, have a conversation like adults. Or if it bothers you that much, then do what you feel you need to do. But I don't hang around some people because I simply don't like the choices they make. You will not impact my world with your craziness. You will not. So when people say it's not that easy and, that's not what I know, start figuring out a way to practice it. Start figuring out a way to implement it into your world. So no, you're right. You may not have been raised that way. That may not have been instilled in you to be a leader and not a follower. But none of us got everything from our upbringing. We continue to learn. Or I would hope. I know some of us don't because we're stagnant and don't evolve. But you have to be able to say, I want to do better. I want to make better decisions. I'm seeing how the decisions I am currently making, I'm seeing how they are impacting my world, whether that is positively or adversely. But it is a choice. It's a choice to say, I know that's going to make me feel good. I know that won't make me feel good. I know this is going to have me caught up in some stupidity. And if you know that, and those are the people who kill me, who know something is going to get them caught up in something crazy and wild, and they still go along. They still go along with it. Well, don't come crying to me. See, because I'm not the friend or the loved one who will tell you, I told you so. Nope. I'm sure not. I don't sit back and say that. I don't care to say it. I'm not that person. I'm not sitting back bitter trying to, I hope you slip and bust your head wide open and get some common sense so I can tell you that I told you so. Nope. I will not. So when you do something crazy and you said, well, Barika, you said that might not be the best thing to do, or you were talking to me and trying to just give me a little bit of encouragement or say, hey, might want to go along with this, because I'm not ever going to tell you what to do either. Will I give some suggestions? Will I give some advice? And I'm not looking for you to take it as if I'm walking around as this golden person. But once again, my discernment, my decision making, you have to have a thought process. And the reason that you get that crazy feeling in your gut when you know something is off or not meant for you especially when you are making a decision, like it has to be a quick decision. It's that feeling pops in there for a reason. And when you choose to go against it, be my guest. But I am not the loved one or the friend to tell you, I told you so. So when I tell you, hey, this may be the better choice, this may not be the better choice, and try to just help you through that thought process, and you still go and do the silly thing and then come back to me with the silly consequences, I may let you get it off your chest. It depends on the day too. Depends on how I'm feeling. I might not want to hear the foolishness. But because I am so thoughtful, I probably will just let you get it off your chest, but I won't tell you I told you so. Just sit there and, okay. And it's crazy because I have tried to give some people some suggestions or advice, and they'll still go make the negative choice and then come back and say, Barika, we talked about this. And I know. What do you want me to say or do? I'm not about to jump down your throat about it. For what? You've already made the choice. And okay. It's like, okay for me. You've already done it. And you have to deal with the consequences. Not I. But I am not the I told you so. So be able to be a leader. Be able to say no. Be able to say that doesn't work for me. And everything does not require an explanation. Be able to say, no, I'm good on that, but thank you. And not allowing people to talk you into things that you know go against who you are. That things that you know that if you make that decision to say yes, you're not being true to yourself. Be able to say, I know this isn't me. I know this is not me. And stand in that. Be comfortable in that. Be secure in that. Be able to do that. Practice doing that. And the more you do it, the better you become at just implementing that. Because like anything else, when you keep doing something, you become better at it. When you keep practicing something, you become better at it. And it becomes more comfortable. And it's like a second nature. You do it with ease. But I don't care what age I am, what this I am, if I'm that, I don't care what factor it is. I'm not going to allow someone to talk me into something, pressure me into something. I've never gotten down like that. You can't do that to me. No matter what age I've been, nobody has ever been to pressure me into something that I don't like and I'm not feeling. And I'm so glad I had that trait, that quality early on, because I know so many people who don't, and they're trying to find it in their later years. And they're like, it's tough. Okay, but you better start figuring out how to implement it. Better start figuring out how to say no. Because if you don't, life is going to keep handing it to you. Going to keep handing your tail to you. And I'm not saving people from themselves. Nope. I've tried to do that. Those days are done. You want to go ahead and go against the grain? I'll talk to you later. Be my guest. Because I'm not walking that line with you. So be your own leader. Be your own leader. Be comfortable in that. Be secure in that. As always, I appreciate you all for tuning in. Continue to follow, like, and share. Continue to connect with me on my Instagram at Today's Candor Podcast. And in the meantime, stay safe and stay candid.